everyone to stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll ask Mr. Bradley to lead some pledge of prayer.
Pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Shall we call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Mrs. Conway?
Here.
Mrs. Singer-Erdley?
Here.
Mr. Lesby?
Here.
Mr. Showalter?
Here.
Mrs. Tingle-Sames?
Here.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
We have a full house. Thank you. Each of you should have a copy of the minutes from our last regularly scheduled meeting of June 13th. If you'd like to look those over for any possible corrections or additions.
Make motion to accept the minutes.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Ms. Conway. And if there are no changes, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. In your packet, each of you should have received a copy of our latest check register. If you just indicate if you received that register. Thank you. And next item on our agenda, under public comments, we have Sam Wilder and Marissa Haroldson from Georgetown College. Hi. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Sam Wilder, and I'm a junior at Georgetown College.
I'm Marissa Harrelson, and I'm a senior at Georgetown College.
And we are representing the Georgetown College Athletic Training Program. And we would like to schedule a 5K fundraiser in October of this year. And we need to know just kind of some finalizing details from you all on how to get started with that.
Okay. Do you all know Sam, do you all know yet the approximate number of folks participating in your 5K?
We don't know exactly yet, but we estimated about 200 to 250.
200 to 250. Have you all had any conversation with facilities management folks on campus?
Yes, it is an approved fundraiser by school. We just need to get it approved through the city.
Okay. The reason I ask is we've been in some fairly detailed conversations with the college about the use of Memorial Drive, when Memorial Drive is closed, Memorial Drive is not closed.
Right.
And council's been Memorial Drive is like a private street that is owned by Georgetown College. But it is our belief that it is a public thoroughfare. It's been open for a long time. The college has made it very clear that we're working on these events with the police department and how we schedule and route 5Ks. The college has made it very clear that they wish that we would not block Memorial Drive under almost any circumstances. Now, routes that take all of Main Street, that's still going to happen. But this has been a pretty high-profile discussion. And I think before we can authorize any more 5Ks, I think we have to have a clear understanding between the city and the college administration about what the expectations are and how we best honor the college's request.
What we proposed was starting the 5K over at East Campus, so Memorial Drive wouldn't be in effect with the 5K.
Okay.
It would be all of the surrounding streets between campus and East Campus.
Okay. So that would be a Chief Bossy? Chief. sorry about that, Chief.
Video's not on, Chief.
Not on him. Just on us.
Share.
The young ladies are from Georgetown College and are wanting to hold a 5K as a fundraising event for the athletic training program. I expressed to them our ongoing conversations with Georgetown College about Memorial Drive and the best use of Memorial Drive. They said that their intention is to start over on East Campus, where the Bengals training facility was. So that is not our traditional 5K route. And I'm not sure if these ladies should work with you before council approves their request, because it's a little bit of an unknown for us right now. We want to support what you're trying to do, but given these recent conversations with the college, I think we should err on the side of being careful. And Chief, if you could get with these ladies when they're through and you all talk about their proposed route, then we would have time at a subsequent council meeting to reconsider your request. Is that fair enough?
Yes. I have a few more questions.
Sure.
We will provide athletic trainers who are certified in like first aid and on-site training, and we didn't know what the city's guidelines were for hiring EMS to cover the 5K, or if our athletic trainers would be enough.
And I think that's something that Chief Bossy and his staff could help you with those specific details. We rely on our public safety experts to guide us with public policy decisions. So those are great questions, but I prefer the experts answer.
And you still have plenty of time to get it approved, so.
And
And
it's
also,
something,
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We'll also fill out paperwork that.
Insurance
Tracy
and
has,
so forth.
That you'll need to fill out, and it'll have the route on it and your insurance and liability and stuff like that too.
So I think you can work with Chief Bossy and his staff to get a number of your questions answered. Ms. Hoffman is the city clerk, and she has the applications to actually fill out and make sure your insurance is in place, those kinds of things, and then it comes to the council for our final approval.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your event.
Thank you.
David, our over-under tonight is between 30 and 45 minutes.
About 7:15, so you can put your bet in, David. What time?
I'm faced with a room full of skeptics here because we're now beginning to start mayor's comments.
We do have a track record, or you do.
Yeah, you do. There you go.
Yes, I do have a track
That's why he took the clock down, guys. I'm
We
telling you,
can't.
there's a reason for it.
No more clock.
Okay. We had mentioned to council before that there were some very large changes made to the state statutes on code enforcement in the last session of the General Assembly. And we think the clarity that the General Assembly gave us is going to really help us with a stronger code enforcement ordinance. We wanted to be one of the first cities to really drill down through this new state statute and see how it would best translate to what our needs are here in Georgetown and possibly Scott County. And if the county joins us, then that would include Sadieville and Stamping Ground as well. So we're trying to take a very comprehensive look at this. The statutes that previously governed what we could and could not do will expire at the end of this calendar year. So we've got to move forward with getting our structure in place. Andrew has done a lot of work on it, and what we would like to talk with you about is between our 2 meetings in July, we would like to schedule a workshop solely dedicated to discussing code enforcement, what the new state law changed, and the way we have structured our response. And it is a really complex subject. I think it requires a standalone meeting. We think by early in July, we can provide you with a draft of what we think should go in the ordinance. And then that'll give you time to prepare for a workshop meeting. That we were thinking,
Eighteenth or the 19th?
we
18th.
we first suggested Monday, July the 18th, but Connie and Chuck, that may be the night you all have a traffic
It
committee
is,
meeting.
but we start at 4:30, Mayor, and we're usually done by 6, although we are going through our report as well, but I don't see any reason to not go on and finish it. What about you?
Michael, you're there.
Monday.
You're out
Oh,
of
he's
town
gonna
that
be out of town, so I'm okay with going on if everybody wants to do it on that.
Would the 19th help either one of you?
Well, Chuck's gonna be gone, so, but whatever's good for anybody else, I'll make it happen.
Okay.
Is the 19th better for you, Karen?
It is, because I'm going to be in Atlanta on the 18th.
Okay.
Okay.
Does Tuesday, July 19th work for most of the council?
Okay.
At 6 o'clock on Tuesday, July 19th. Among the materials that we want to provide you, Andrew has even developed kind of a cheat sheet for the top 10 code violations that we see in Georgetown. We think this is the kind of information that we need to start giving folks who move to Georgetown. Property managers could hand this out to new renters. Realtors can hand it out to new home buyers, so people begin to understand what the community's expectations are of people. Andrew's even gone so far at this point to put together, I know I'm a nerd, but I think flow charts are so cool. We've taken the workflow that the new ordinance should entail, and Andrew's reduced it to a flow chart. That I think when we start our deep dive into it, the flow chart will really help us understand how the process works. This is also the beginning of how we want to show you, I think, other processes that we want to review. We want to start mapping them out, see what they look like on paper, so we can see where the opportunities to improve them all. So,
So will we have that ahead of time, Mayor, or
Yes.
that night?
Try to get you a week.
A week ahead of time?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect, thanks.
so do I need a council vote on setting that?
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to hold a
So moved.
workshop session? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. That would enable us, as we look at the calendar, we think that should put us in a good position to make first reading of the new Code Enforcement Office ordinance at our second meeting in July on the 25th. Then if there aren't questions, a lot of outstanding questions, we could move to finalize it in August and begin appointing the boards and having this functional before our deadline arises. Thank you. Just an update, we've had a couple of very good conversations with our solid waste consultants. Millie, thank you for sitting in on some of these. I think we're asking the right questions. They're asking us the right questions back. They finished all of their route analysis, and they will be in town for a sit-down on
Wednesday,
first week of July,
I think that's correct.
the first week of
5th or
July.
6th, whichever that Wednesday is.
Yeah. So they will be here. We've talked about two big things that we want to accomplish with our citizens. And the first is to make sure that folks know that we are working on a solid waste plan and that we're really studying it. We've learned over the years that too often we do good work and we plan for good initiatives, but if the public doesn't know we're doing that planning and they're not up to speed with what we're trying to accomplish, it makes the implementation real hard. So we want to begin letting the public know that we're engaged in this effort on their behalf. And we also want their feedback through a survey. So as a way to drive some attention to our survey instrument, once we get it up, we're having 10 of these?
15.
15. 15 posters that will be significantly larger than this, that can go in they can go in churches, they can go in
Libraries.
a library,
Grocery store.
they can go in public places. What we hope will grab people's attention is the big QR code on the bottom. And if this is poster size, that should really stand out. People can simply point their phone at the QR code, and it'll take them to the survey we want them to take. So it's just a way that we dreamed up that we might get good participation out of a survey. We'll also be putting this on our Facebook page and our website and trying to build public awareness. And so if anybody asks you what the city is doing with just funny posters, we're trying to get people's attention and get them to take our survey.
Does it work now?
No, sir.
Hopefully by the end of the week.
They've sent us a sample list of questions, David, and we've tweaked them to suit Georgetown. So I think we'll be ready to put it up by the end of the week.
Sounds good.
Just a quick update on the center of town cleanup. I had told you at the last meeting that we were now dealing with the Superfund folks, which is always a bit more complicated. But our last test results this morning came back below the thresholds of all of the scary stuff. So the folks from PICO and our emergency management are bringing me a document to sign in the morning, and it's our application to the state to sign off on our little hole down there. Then they are going to hand carry this application to Frankfurt, assuming that they read the test results the same way we read the test results. We'll be able to fill the hole. County has already offered, they've got a bunch of topsoil out at their county road garage construction site, and as soon as we get the okay from Frankfurt, they've agreed to fill up the hole, and then we can move forward with some of our plans there. Delighted to tell you that street paving has begun. They are working on it. I think tomorrow they'll be on Chambers. So street paving has started and will continue to roll out. Chief Bossy and I had the pleasure this morning of swearing in a new police officer for Georgetown.
Good.
Brandon Wallen was here with his family, and delighted to welcome him to our police department. And just update that I'd given you last time, Scott Hall will begin his work with us on July the 5th at the Revenue Commission. The real good news is I think Scott and his wife are going to be in town the next couple of days looking at houses. So it is their intention to move, and so I think we're there. And that's all the mayor's comments that I have.
Oh, stop it.
I know.
6:20. 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Somebody pat him on the back.
Now it's up to Bob.
There you go.
Bob is easy.
Bob.
That's easy.
Good job, Mayor.
Yes.
Well, I've got something unusual tonight, and that's to request an emergency repair from the council to a old 1946 bridge that is at the end of PRATHER Lane and crosses Rural Springs into our plant. A few weeks ago, our staff noticed that a piece of concrete had fallen off of it, which is a little alarming. We've had it looked at by a bridge inspector and a couple engineering firms. And our best, we would be in serious problem if this bridge should fail. It's not in danger of failing right now, but it is very important to the operations of the plants, how the waste haulers get in and how the sludge gets hauled out, how our back truck gets in there. So we're concerned about the safety issues and the operations of the plant. Our board at the last meeting approved an emergency repair in the amount of $68,200 to try to move this forward as quick as we can. And I'm asking for the council's approval as an emergency repair also.
The questions for Bob? You've got.
Do you have the money for it?
Yes. We didn't have the specific line item, but we're going to take it out of the collections budget and the wastewater plant budget.
Oh, that's just one of those we gotta do.
Yeah.
Can't let it fall down.
Motion's been made.
I'll second.
Millie second.
Second. And the full report is in your council packet with photographs and engineering estimates and all the above. If there are no further questions for Bob, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Please fix your bridge. Thank you. Under city attorney, we have 2 second readings. The first is second reading of an annexation ordinance. That would be followed by a second reading of a zoning ordinance. This is for that little triangle of property that sits just adjacent to our Lanes Run Business Park.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, no. An ordinance annexing into the city of Georgetown a tract of land containing 5.927 acres located at the southeast quadrant of Delaplane Road and Barclay Lane in Scott County, Kentucky. Summary: 1. Annexes into Georgetown city limits by written consent of the property owners in accordance with KRS 81A.412, 5.927 acres of property located at the southeast quadrant of Delaplane Road and Barclay Lane in Scott County, Kentucky. 2. Provides for an effective date upon passage and publication. Publicly introduced and read for the first time June 13th, 2016. Publicly read the second time June 27th, 2016.
Thank you. And Jack is here. If there are any questions?
If I may just introduce
Sure.
Alderman Porter back here, Paul, if you don't mind. Paul is president and CEO of Ciron Holdings. The other 3 gentlemen, Louis, John, and Bob, we met the last time we were presenting this, so I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, but obviously they can likewise.
And I think we're pleased you gentlemen are here. I think the request is pretty straightforward.
How about a motion?
Motion to be in order. Thank you. Since this is an ordinance, shall we call the roll?
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Singer Erdley?
Yes.
Mr. Lesby?
Yes.
Mr. Showalter?
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you. And the next related item is the ordinance affecting the zoning classification.
An ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property containing 5.927 acres located at the southeast quadrant of Delaplane Road and Barclay Lane in Scott County, Kentucky from A1 to I1. Summary: amends the official Georgetown Scott County zoning map to show a change in the zoning classification for certain real property consisting of a portion of a 5.927 acre parcel located at the southeast quadrant of Delaplane Road and Barclay Lane in Scott County, Kentucky from agricultural A1 to light industrial I1 in the city of Georgetown, Scott County, Kentucky, which amendment is contingent upon the passage of the ordinance annexing the property into the city limits, provides for severability, repeal of inconsistent ordinances, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 100 North Court Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324. Introduced and publicly read for the first time June 13th, 2016. Publicly read the second time June 27th, 2016.
Thank you. And Mr. Lesby, thank you for sponsoring each of those ordinances.
Will do. I'll make a motion for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
And second? If there are no questions, shall we call the roll?
Jack was going to say
I
something.
apologize. I wanted to Mr. Steve Wells. Mr. Wells is here with the cap on. He is the gentleman whose property is being purchased by Ciron.
Thank you for being here as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Singer Erdley?
Yes.
Mr. Lesby?
Yes.
Mr. Showalter?
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you. Gentlemen, good luck with your project. Next item on the agenda is the second reading of a personnel ordinance sponsored by Mr. Thompson.
An ordinance amending Section 2-111 subsection C of the Code of Ordinances related to city position classifications and pay grades. Summary. 1. Amend Section 2-111 subsection C of the Code of Ordinances, which sets forth the classifications, associated pay grades, and authorized positions for each department to abolish 2 positions of part-time dispatcher and add 1 position of dispatcher in the 911 center and create 1 position of administrative assistant in the fire department. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for the examination in the City Clerk's Office, 100 North Court Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324. Introduced and publicly read for the first time
It's 2 weeks ago.
June 13th, 2016. Publicly read the second time and passed June 27th, 2016.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
What's this, March?
Motion back.
Is that your motion, Marvin? Thank you.
I'll second.
And Polly with the second. If there are no questions, we'll call the roll.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Singer Erdley?
Yes.
Mr. Lesby?
Yes.
Mr. Showalter?
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Stimes?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
6:28.
No, and all is well.
It's time for council comments. So you all control your own destiny.
Whoa, this is unheard of.
Anyway,
We're working hard for you tonight.
No, you are.
Karen, I'll start. We'll
You got
switch it around tonight.
somebody to
You got anything tonight?
Hey,
I am good.
You're good. Kyle?
I'm good.
Yep. Art? I do. Okay.
I do. That's what you said years ago.
The timing of this is not going to be real good. And I apologize if anybody gets offended by this, since it just happened last Friday.
Yes, sir.
I know there was a really, really bad automobile or multiple vehicle accident
Yes, sir. Out on Cherry
out
Blossom.
on Cherry Blossom. And again, I know the timing's probably not real good, and I know that there's probably still an ongoing investigation, but that was a bad one. And I've been thinking about that one all weekend, that little intersection there. Then also yesterday when I came out of Kroger, exiting Kroger and on Lesby Path, I thought about that little intersection yesterday. And granted, I know we really don't have a whole lot of control over traffic lights, but I think we need to try to encourage. And granted, I know we don't want a stoplight at every intersection all around the bypass, but those are 2 bad intersections.
Yeah. You know, I will turn in, if I'm on 25 and I'm going to go to Kroger's, I will turn in on Lesby Path. But when I leave, I go at the stoplight on the bypass and go through a real set of lights in an intersection. To try and turn left out of there would,
Well, you can always do a right turn only coming out. That's a private road. That's a city road, right?
Leslie Path?
Uh-huh.
No, it's not. It's private. Kroger maintains it. They're responsible
Program
for
maintains
it.
it? Okay. So we wouldn't, even the traffic committee wouldn't have any.
the,
Well, granted, it's a state road though, on the,
It connects to a
Bypass,
state
yeah.
road.
in both intersections.
in both cases,
And I
25
guess
and the bypass.
What I was going to ask is, and granted, I don't know if these discussions have ever been had with people above us, whether it be our state representatives or state senator, but I think it's something that needs to be
Yeah.
at least discussed.
Well, the section that goes down to the bypass, that is city, okay? That part of it is. The 2 outlets onto the bypass are city streets.
But on the, going out on the bypass, you could always do right turn only.
Yeah, you could.
That's not a big deal, but I was thinking that you could, if we spoke to Kroger, that you could do a right turn only coming out of 25 off of Lesby Path. And then, of course, you can enter with not a problem, but just no left turn. It's kind of like what we did on Broadway in Clinton, too. You know, you can only, right turn only.
Yeah. And I think, point's well taken, Mark. We had a horrible accident. And a young man from here lost his life. And I think we should start looking at these potential solutions. Our big request right now with the state for a turn lane and a stoplight is the one that several of us have worked on, and that's at the intersection of Cardinal Drive and Long Lick.
Yes.
Chuck, I know you've spoken with Senator Thayer about that, and we've spoken with, I've spoken with Damon. In fact, I backed all that up with a letter to Damon late last week. I think that's our number one priority. But maybe we could get some of Chief Bossy's experts on accident reconstruction and give us some recommendations on right in, right out. Right in, right out is a real traffic safety advantage. It's sometimes not to the benefit of the property owner because it makes access to their property harder.
Yeah.
And I think we have to weigh both of those concerns. But I think we should internally start those conversations, Mark, and ask the chief to look at.
I think in both of those intersections, it needs to have the same priority.
Okay.
Because in the Cherry Blossom area, out by Cherry Blossom subdivision, whether you come out where that accident happened or if you try to get out at Applebee's, it's a bad situation in both intersections.
It is.
Or it can be.
Yeah.
So I would just ask that if there's anything we can do as a body to help either one or both of those intersections, I would ask that we give it the utmost priority.
We have tackled several of these things in the traffic. We talked about doing right turn only coming out of Leslie Path there at the bypass, which that can be a tricky left-hand turn coming out of there because you just don't have enough clearance space to see.
Right.
We asked the state to look at the speed limit on Broadway coming out of Leslie Path because of the people turning left out there. They decided, they did a test, they said we're leaving at 45.
Yep.
So it's not changing. That's a difficult left turn unless you're patient. I did it today, so I mean I do it all the time. And then the Timberland, is it Timberland?
Timberland, wood, timber
Yeah.
something.
You know, I live in Cherry Blossom right there, so I go out there every day. And that's a bad intersection. And it's really one of the only choices we have to get out of Cherry Blossom.
Yeah, I mean, it would be practical to have a right turn only there.
We talked
Because you
about,
can't wave them
the
down.
number one
Create
accident
more problems.
intersection in Georgetown is the one at Applebee's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's,
But we can't come up with a solution.
it's the most accidents. The only thing saving us there is the accidents are relatively low speed.
Yeah, they're low speed. And we talked about doing right in and right out of the Applebee's, was that Old Oxford?
Mm-hmm.
But the business owners don't like it. Being a resident,
Really,
I don't
really,
really like it either. But
the exit part of it is the worst part of it, trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
Taking a left-hand turn is just
and the
brutal.
people turning left from the marathon trying to get.
I don't know that the business owners would mind a right-hand turn coming out of there, but the ability for a customer to get into Applebee's or to the bank or Valvoline, I mean, I understand that part of it, but I think coming out of it, a right-hand turn would certainly help.
But the intersection at Timberland probably warrants looking at a stop, trying to get a stoplight in there.
See approximate distance from another stoplight.
It's close.
Probably
It's
300
really
yards.
close.
Yeah, it is.
Pretty
I don't
close.
think it's that far,
I
Marvin.
don't think so.
No, it's
That-
tight.
It's quite a ways.
From the Applebee's intersection?
From the light right there at Walmart and
Yeah,
Applebee's down,
it's
it's
at
probably,
least a half a mile.
it's 300 yards, I
Uh-huh.
thought.
No, it's 300 yards, I mean, it's right there.
I don't
We can
think
bring it
so.
up at our next
Well, I
traffic.
can drive it tomorrow and find out, I'll put it on
I'll
it. I'm gonna let
put
you
it on
know.
our agenda.
Yeah.
I'll have some additional conversations with the chief, and then let's ask the traffic committee to get us some suggestions. But I agree with Mark that both of the intersection he suggested are high volume, high speed, and show no signs of lightening up.
Maybe when the new exchange is complete,
There'll
you
be
know,
a
for
traffic light
Toyota.
there.
I mean, that'll take a little bit of pressure off, I guess, but I've heard within 5 years, the numbers might be back to where they are right now. I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody did
I
mention
believe
that to me.
They've predicted that when the new exchange opens, we'll have peak traffic volume on Cherry Blossom will decrease by a third. And then in 5 to 7 years, it will grow back to
Increase
the
by a
level it
third.
is. So So just imagine if we didn't have the interchange and we continued that growth. So we have success problems all over the place.
We're blessed, but we still have problems with being blessed.
Yeah. No, I think your timing's perfect, Mark. I think now is when we ought to be motivated to look.
The bottom line is that when we turn left out of these intersections, we just need to be patient and wait for an opening. And it's the impatience that
Yeah.
makes people try to thread the needle. And that's what causes I mean, we see them every day, close calls.
Yep.
People are just being impatient.
Running red lights and everything.
I had one of our prominent school administrators' wives ran a red light right in front of me coming out of Walmart the other night. I'm like, what are you doing, running a red light?
We're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The other item, I know,
Yes, sir.
sound like I repeat, I know several of us have discussed this, but while we're talking about possibly the potential for anyway for streetlights, will be lighting at some of the intersections that we've discussed in some of our recent meetings. I want to keep pushing that one.
Yes, sir. Because there's an element of safety in the lights. And hopefully we won't have to have another Friday night incident before we talk about it again.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Thank you. David? Marvin?
Something real quick. I was told to mention the fireworks on Monday night.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget that. The fair starts tomorrow. And a big thank you to Toyota for building those bicycles and giving them out. That was something else. And not only did they build cars, but I don't know how many, 100 of them they gave away. And it was just something great. So
Yeah.
big kudos to them.
Thank you.
And just real quick from me, it was posted on my Facebook page by Kiva Atkins. You might have seen it. For subdivisions like the sound barrier, she backs up to Lemons Mill and just has a regular fence. Do the developers put those in when they're building, or is it done by the state when they're expanding the road? Because she had a question just about.
She tagged us all.
Yeah, she tagged.
She tagged me,
Yeah.
and I choose not to do public policy discussions on Facebook.
Yeah, well, I didn't. That's why I said I'd bring it up.
Sound barriers are something typically when the state constructs a highway
Okay.
next to homes,
Yeah, like
they'll consider putting up a sound barrier.
Okay, like Canewood and the bypass.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
That's not the responsibility of a developer unless
Yeah.
it's a part of their development
Right.
plan.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I'm sorry that she's concerned about the noise behind her house, but it's a road.
Yeah.
I don't think we can help her very much.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of wanted to get clear for myself what the policy was, just because I do get asked that, by different people a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not the responsibility of the developer, it's more of the road, if they're expanding the bypass or something.
Yes, ma'am. And typically, when it's new road construction,
Mhm.
close to residential property,
Mhm.
or a significant widening next to
Okay.
residential,
Okay.
then the state will include that,
Okay.
as they did along several portions of the bypass.
Yeah, I noticed that. Well, that's what people have asked me, why do some get it and some don't? So.
I think it also sometimes depends on who's there first. If you've got a major highway that already exists in a neighborhood that doesn't, there might be a requirement for a
Oh,
developer
okay,
to do
for
that.
putting that up,
But
okay.
if the state is disrupting the already existing neighborhood,
Mhm.
the burden is gonna fall on them.
Millie?
Real quick comment. Just real happy to be involved in those conference calls with the solid waste and looking forward to the Wednesday meeting with these people face to face, seeing what we can come up with. So, thank you.
I'm gonna be out, but Millie and Robert and others are gonna do fine with that meeting.
And our attorney.
And not to mention our
Don't
esteemed
forget the
attorney.
attorney.
Forget Andrew.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the council?
Is it 7 o'clock?
6:41.
6:41. God.
Meeting adjourned.
The better.
Connie, I said 45 minutes, didn't I? I
He said
said
an hour and
45 minutes.
15.
See, Dave, you in a hurry too?
Going to the gym.
Mr. Lusby must have been in a hurry too. Look at him.